Novel, Ancient True Human, Remake, Chapter 6, The Apiron Aperture and a Hidden Virtue. In an instant, the surroundings became utterly still, countless gazes fixated upon Fang Yuan. Indeed, it only grows more captivating. Fang Yuan offered a faint, inner smile. Unfazed, he crossed the iridescent blue river, his steps firm as he set foot upon the far bank. Immediately, an invisible layer of pressure weighed upon him. This pressure stemmed from the spiritual spring hidden deep within the flower sea, where the primeval essence was so extraordinarily concentrated and overflowing that it formed an enveloping force. Yet swiftly, from the cluster of flowers at Fang Yuan's feet, a wave of pure white light motes soared upward. These shimmering specks drifted, enveloping Fang Yuan's entire body, and finally, all of them flowed into his being. These are hope goo, Fang Yuan mused inwardly. Although the elder in charge offered no explicit explanation, he was intimately familiar with them. Each of these light motes was a goo, named Hope Goo. A very ancient legend tells of the Hope Goo. It is said that when this world was newly formed, it was a boundless wilderness, with savage beasts running rampant. The first human to appear was named Ren Zu. He ate raw food and drank raw water. His life was incredibly difficult and perilous. Especially, there was a bloodthirsty beast called confinement, which loved the scent of Ren Zu and sought to devour him alive. Ren Zu possessed no body as hard as stone mountains, no fangs or sharp claws like wild beasts. How could he contend with these confinement beasts? His food source was utterly unstable. He spent his days hiding here and there. When natural food became scarce, he was almost on the verge of not being able to survive. At this time, 3 goo worms actively sought him out and said to Ren Zu, "As long as you use your life to nourish us, we shall help you overcome your difficult trials." Ren Zu was at the end of his rope and had no choice but to agree to these 3 goo. He first used his youth to nourish the largest of the 3 goo worms. That goo brought him strength. Relying on strength, Ren Zu's life began to improve. He started to have a stable food source and could protect himself. He greatly enjoyed brutal combat, defeating many confinement beasts. But very quickly he tasted bitterness. Eventually, he discovered that strength was not omnipotent. It also required recovery and recuperation. It could not be expended at will. Moreover, with vast hordes of confinement beasts everywhere, his individual strength was truly too minuscule. Ren Zu learned from bitter experience and decided to use the robust vigor of his middle age to nourish the most beautiful of the 3 goo worms. Thus, the second goo brought him wisdom. Ren Zu, possessing wisdom, learned to question and self-reflect, and so began to accumulate experience. He discovered that applying wisdom was more effective than applying strength. Relying on cunning and strength, he conquered many objectives he previously could not, slaying even more confinement beasts, even devouring their flesh and drinking their blood to survive with tenacious resilience. But good times were short-lived. Ren Zu grew old, increasingly decrepit. This was because he had offered both his youth and middle age to strength goo and wisdom goo. Once a person grew old, their body withered, and their thoughts became sluggish. "O human, what more can you give us? You have nothing left to offer us." Upon discovering this, strength goo and wisdom goo heartlessly departed. Ren Zu, having lost his strength and wisdom, was discovered by confinement and fell into a siege of beasts. He was ancient, unable to run. His teeth had all fallen out. He couldn't even chew wild fruits or greens. He collapsed powerlessly to the ground, surrounded by swarming confinement beasts, his heart filled with despair. Just then, the 3rd goo worm spoke to him. "O human, nourish me, and I can help you escape confinement." Ren Zu wept, saying, "O goo, what more do I have? You see, strength goo and wisdom goo have both abandoned me, and I have only a meager span of old age left. Compared to the years of middle age, old age is insignificant, but if I offer even my old age to you, my life will instantly end. My current situation, though encircled by confinement, will not lead to immediate death. I still wish to live a little longer, even if it's just for a second. So, you must leave. I can no longer offer you anything. The goo replied, among the three goo, my requirements are the least. O human, you only need to give your heart to me. Then I shall give my heart to you at once. Ren Zu immediately said, but O goo, what can you give me? Here, in this desperate situation, even if strength goo and wisdom goo were to return to my side, it would change nothing. Compared to strength goo, this goo was very frail, just a tiny speck of light. Compared to wisdom goo, this goo was very dim, able to emit only a faint, thin white light, devoid of any vibrant brilliance. Yet after Ren Zu offered his heart to this goo suddenly radiated boundless light. In this light, the confinement beasts cried out in terror. This is hope goo. Flee quickly. We confinement fear hope the most. The confinement beasts instantly scattered in panicked flight. Ren Zu was dumbfounded. From that moment on, he knew that when facing confinement, one should offer their heart to hope. And at this moment, the hope goo, forming a stream of white light, had entered Fang Yuan's body. Due to the pressure from the spiritual spring outside, they quickly gathered at the location of his Primeval Sea, 3 inches below the navel, automatically forming into clusters. Fang Yuan immediately felt the pressure distinctly lessen. He took a measured step forward, continuing his advance. With each step, more hope goo continuously flew out from the sea of flowers, entering his body and joining the gradually accumulating stream of light. The stream of light grew larger and brighter with each passing moment. However, the elder in charge on the other side of the river slightly furrowed his brow. The quantity of these hope goo seems a little low. Many elders, still secretly observing Fang Yuan, couldn't help but feel their hearts sink at this sight. The clan leader also frowned. This was absolutely not the phenomenon a grade A aptitude should exhibit. Fang Yuan resisted the pressure, persistently stepping forward. Under 10 steps signifies no cultivation aptitude. 10 to 20 steps is grade D aptitude. 20 to 30 steps is grade C aptitude. 30 to 40 steps is grade B aptitude. 40 to 50 steps is grade A aptitude. As of now, I have taken 23 steps. Fang Yuan calculated inwardly. 24, 25, 26, 27. Fang Yuan silently counted in his heart. At the 27th step, he seemed to hear a resounding boom, deep within his being. The cluster of light between his kidneys, accumulated to its limit, suddenly exploded with immense force. This explosion occurred only within Fang Yuan's body. Outsiders were completely unable to detect it. Only Fang Yuan instantly felt a profound, world-shaking mystery. In a flash, the hairs on his entire body abruptly stood on end. His pores clamped shut. His mind taut as a suddenly drawn bowstring pulled to its absolute limit. Suddenly, all thoughts in his mind vanished. His entire body went limp, as if falling into a swirling cloud. The bowstring in his heart relaxed, the hairs on his neck smoothed, and all the pores on his body opened. In an instant, his entire body was covered in a thin layer of sweat. This process, though long in description, was incredibly brief in reality. Came swiftly and vanished just as abruptly. Fang Yuan was lost in thought for only a fleeting moment. His spirit had fully returned. He secretly focused on examining his internal body and discovered that below his navel, directly between his kidneys, an empty, oval-shaped space had suddenly appeared, radiating primordial energy. Aperture opened successfully. This was the Primeval Sea, the foundation of a Gu master, the starting point of cultivation, the hope for the path of eternal life and immortality, the aperture aperture and a hidden virtue. This newly opened aperture, mysteriously and exceptionally, while enshrined within Fang Yuan's body, existed in a space distinct from his internal organs. One could say it was immeasurably vast or infinitesimally tiny. Some called it the Purple Palace, others the Flower Pond. Yet, the common parlance was the aperture aperture, also known as the Primeval Sea aperture. The entire aperture was spherical, its outer surface swirling with white light, a luminous membrane. This was the congealed essence of the shattered hope Gu from moments before. It was precisely this light membrane that prevented the aperture from collapsing. Within the aperture naturally lay the Primeval Sea. The sea water was as smooth as a mirror, displaying a jade-green hue, yet it was incredibly dense, shimmering with a bronze luster. This was the bronze primeval essence, a hallmark of a rank 1 Gu master. The sea level reached less than half the height of the aperture, only 44%. This was the very limit of grade C aptitude. Every single drop of this seawater was primeval essence, representing the concentrated vitality and spirit of Fang Yuan, symbolizing the life potential he had accumulated over 15 years. Gu masters utilized this primeval essence to activate Gu worms. In other words, from this moment on, Fang Yuan had officially stepped into the ranks of a rank 1 Gu master. With the aperture opened, no more hope Gu gathered or entered Fang Yuan's body. Fang Yuan suppressed his emotions, feeling only that the pressure ahead was as solid and dense as a wall. He could not advance another step. Just like in my previous life, he gave a faint, self-mocking smile at this outcome. Can you go no further? The academy elder, holding onto a sliver of hope, called across the river. Fang Yuan turned and walked straight back, answering him with his actions. This time, even the surrounding youths had fully grasped the situation. Immediately, a clamor erupted among the crowd. What? Fang Yuan only walked 27 steps. So, he only has grade C aptitude? Unbelievable. He's such a genius, yet only a grade C? A tempest of murmurs and shock swept through the gathering. Brother! Among the crowd, Guyu Fang Zheng lifted his head, staring in shock at Fang Yuan returning from the river. He couldn't believe what he was witnessing. His brother, merely a grade C? He had always assumed his brother would be a grade A talent. No, not just him. His aunt and uncle and many others in the clan had believed the same. Yet now the outcome was this. Damnable, only a grade C. The Guyu clan leader secretly clenched his fists, sighing in disappointment, his words dripping with it. The elders, who had been secretly observing, either frowned, bowed their heads in discussion, or looked up to the heavens, sighing. Could the test be mistaken? How could it be? This method is utterly precise, moreover, with us scrutinizing, it's very difficult to cheat. But then, how do we explain his previous demeanor and talents? Indeed, youths with higher Primeval Sea aptitudes will display extraordinary characteristics. For example, intelligence, comprehension, memory, strength, keenness, and so on. However, conversely, possessing these characteristics does not necessarily mean high aptitude. Everything must rely on the precise test results. Alas, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. The Guyu clan's descendants are not as formidable as their predecessors. A brother's shadow and a demonic enlightenment. The chilling river water, soaking his trouser cuffs, sent a coldness deep into his bones. Fang Yuan walked forward, his expression unchanged. As he drew closer, he could clearly see the grim face of the academy elder, and acutely felt the gazes of over 100 youths fixed upon him. In their eyes, there was surprise, agitation, mockery, schadenfreude, sudden realization, and cold indifference. The identical scene caused Fang Yuan to recall his previous life. Back then, he had felt as if the sky had fallen. When crossing the river, he had stumbled and fallen, becoming completely drenched, his spirit shattered. But no one had come to help him up. Those cold, disappointed faces and gazes had pierced his heart like sharp knives. His mind had been in turmoil, his chest aching with a vague pain. It was like falling from the clouds to the ground. The higher one stood, the harder one fell. Yet, in this life, experiencing the same scene again, Fang Yuan's heart was incredibly calm. He thought of that tale of giving one's heart to hope when in confinement. Today, that hope resided within his own body. Though this hope was not grand, it was far better than having no cultivation aptitude at all. Others were disappointed. Let them be disappointed. What could it matter? What did others' disappointment have to do with him? What mattered was the desire in his own heart. 500 years of life had taught him a truth. The ultimate splendor in a person's life is determined by their pursuit of their dreams. There is no need to chase after the disappointments or affections of outsiders. Walk your own path. Let others be disappointed and dislike you. So be it. A new talent's ascent. Alas! The Academy elder sighed deeply, then called out again. Next, Gu Yu Fang Zheng. There was no response. Gu Yu Fang Zheng. The elder bellowed, his voice echoing loudly within the cave. Ah, I'm here. I'm here. Fang Zheng snapped out of his shocked daze, hastily rushing out, but he unfortunately stumbled, falling with a plop directly into the river. Instantly, laughter erupted from the crowd. The Fang brothers, truly just SOSO. The Guyu clan leader coldly snorted, feeling a sense of annoyance towards Guyu Fang Zheng as well. This is too embarrassing. Fang Zheng thrashed desperately in the river, but the riverbed was too slippery. He couldn't stand firm at all. His efforts only made him flounder more. In his ears, he heard waves of laughter, which made his heart even more panicked. But at that moment, he suddenly felt a hand seize him. His head finally emerged from the water, and his body regained its balance. Wiping his face clumsily, he looked closely, and it was his elder brother, Fang Yuan, holding his collar, lifting him. Bro! He opened his mouth to speak, but instead choked on water, leading to a violent fit of coughing. Ha ha! The Fang family, neither brother is anything special. Someone on the bank scoffed mockingly. The laughter grew even louder. The Academy elder did not step in to stop them. His brows were tightly furrowed, his heart filled with disappointment. Fang Zheng was flustered when he suddenly heard his brother's voice beside his ear. Go on. The road ahead will be quite spectacular. Fang Zheng couldn't help but gasp in surprise. At this moment, Fang Yuan had his back to the crowd, so those on the bank could not clearly see. But Fang Zheng clearly felt Fang Yuan's composure. As he spoke, his lips even curved slightly, revealing a deep, contemplative smile. He's only grade C aptitude, so why is brother so calm? Fang Zheng's heart filled with confusion. Fang Yuan said nothing more, patted Fang Zheng's back, and turned to leave. Fang Zheng's face was blank as he walked towards the sea of flowers. I can't believe brother is still so calm. If it were me, I'd probably. He lowered his head, unconsciously walking forward. He did not realize that he was performing a miracle. By the time he snapped out of his daze, he was standing deep within the sea of flowers, a distance no one else had reached before. 43 steps. Heavens! Grade A aptitude. The Academy elder blurted out. Grade A, truly grade A? After 3 years, the Guyu clan finally has a grade A aptitude genius again. The elders who had been secretly observing all exclaimed simultaneously, losing all their composure. The Fang branch originally split from our Qi branch. This Guyu Fang Zheng must be adopted by my Qi branch, Guyu Qi Lian immediately declared. How can that be? Old ghost Qi Lian, what virtue or talent do you possess? Your skill at harming disciples is quite remarkable. This child would be better off nurtured by me. Guyu Mo-chan. Guyu Mo-chan reacted as if struck by lightning, instantly rising and roaring. No one is to contend. For this child, nurturing by anyone else is inferior to nurturing by his own kin. Whoever still argues is opposing me. Guyu Bo. The Guyu clan leader's eyes were bloodshot, casting aside all his previous disappointment and gloom. He was utterly beside himself with frantic excitement.